Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, as you know, I introduced you all last night, to the interview between Kamala Harris and Brett Barr, and we talked a lot about. We took a little look at the said video. We didn't do the whole thing because today we'll be watching the interview, not the whole interview, but iconic parts, including the part where Kamala Harris just has to rage quit. Like, seriously. She was, I'm just going to say the word pissed. I have to say the word. I don't mean it as an assault. I'm using it as derogatory. She was pissed. I am being completely honest with you. I cannot use any other word but than pissed. I mean, seriously, I don't like using the word. I'm not a person that uses these kind of words, but honestly, I cannot find any other word. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just avoiding the word. I'm avoiding words that people don't want. You know what? Yeah, I'm not going to say the F word, of course. But yeah, emotion-wise, she was pissed off. I mean, seriously, because she didn't get her way. She didn't get good questions. She wanted to interrupt Brett Baer, and kind of limit how the context he put in his questions. And we're going to kind of go over that. But first, we got to talk about the aftermath. And of course, it's going to take a while, and ideally, Republicans are celebrating some polls, and they're saying, oh, it's because of the interview. Like, for example, Wisconsin has doubled up down for Trump. You'll see we got a huge roll of polls. Ideally, I do not know why, but on Wikipedia, it is, in the average, it's Harris 0.3. And this is why I'm saying, hey, you know what? Ideally, I think we know Wikipedia is in the bag for the left. They are in the bag for any Democrat. I think the operators of this poll page, they're just waiting. They're just waiting because but the truth is, look at the last Harris poll was the beginning of the month, 10 days ago. Will Harris win another poll? I bet she will. But this is the biggest extended margin I've seen yet. Ever since Harris entered this race, you'll see when Harris entered this race, it was all blue for Kamala Harris. Until now, this is the biggest set of poll gains Donald Trump has gained here. So technically, Harris is still winning according to Wikipedia, which we do our averages by. Yeah, technically. But honestly, I think they should redo their math, because with these polls, I think it's pretty obvious and clear that Trump is now the leader in Wisconsin. But what about Michigan, all right? Yeah, Michigan. Let's see if we won in Michigan. I know, still pretty tied in Michigan, but we're getting there. We are getting there. 0.3 for Harris. I'm hoping in our mid-October prediction we get these polls, because I want a Trump victory in mid-October. Yes. Pennsylvania rebounded for Harris a little bit by 0.1 point, thanks to this is the funny thing. They're so quick to give Harris a point. Like, for example, Morning Consult showed Harris defeating Trump by 1. Oh, and almost immediately, it went from 0.5 for Harris to 0.6 for Harris. So obviously, come on. They're so excited to see that. They're desperate, remember? They're desperate. North Carolina. Yeah, it's down 0.5 thanks to this Harris plus 3, or Harris, yeah, it looks like from Quinnipiac, one of the worst, probably the worst polling pollsters in the country. So still in the bag for Trump, though, here. Georgia. Yeah, we are rising constantly. 1.4 for Trump in Georgia, consistently rising. Arizona, 1.4. Just a recent Morning Consult victory for Harris helped lower the point down for Trump. But yeah, it's pretty safe to say that Donald Trump will probably pick up that state. Nevada, let's see if we Yeah, we still have a lot to work to do. 270's predicting Trump victory. Morning Consult is predicting a Harris win by, like 2. I don't know. This was a pretty extended Harris victory, but hey, look, it's out of the margin of error. So this very well probably won't be added into the said average. Plus, the sample size is 496. So we'll go ahead and call this for Harris still. So nothing's really changing, but give it a 2 more days, and maybe we'll see more results coming in. But I have to react, and we are going to react to the Kamala Harris interview. We have to use Black conservative perspective, aka Greg Foreman, because you know what? I've been trying to look for the silly interview, and I can't find it. And plus, Black conservative perspective, giving him credit, he had it pretty much underlined. I'm not, of course, going to record him and his reaction. I don't want to steal his video and his reaction, but really, I'm just going to cover the interview part, not really his reaction. So I'm not stealing his content in other ways. So yes, this is technically in ways Fox News, not Greg Foreman, even though this is on the Greg Foreman Black Conservative Perspective channel, which you guys can definitely subscribe. He definitely does a great amount of content. So yes, here, let's take a look here at the said interview, starting off, and this is my favorite part. I mean, there's nothing really, now, I don't necessarily enjoy watching Kamala Harris speak, because who does? You must be unless you find it like a comedy to her, but it's not comedy, it's just cringe. She sounds drunk or high, whatever you want to say, and it's just annoying, okay? Annoying. So annoying that the interview is like, I just tune everything out. Like, listening to Kamala Harris speak is like nails on a chalkboard. And now you got this part, which I find interesting, because Kamala is not barely even talking, but you can see her facial expression. This is when 4 of Kamala Harris's staff begin waving their hands to stop the interview in 20 minutes. And I mean, Brett Barr had a list of questions he still had to go through, and these stupid Harris Walls campaign managers, they're waving their hands. Stop the interview, it's going too bad. Just end it. And Brett Barr, he's trying to wrap it up, and you could see Kamala Harris, and I'm going to use the word, she's pissed. So let's react to that first.
Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here.
Look at her. Look at her. Does this look like a woman that's happy to sit down with you and talk about her economic and political agenda as president? No way. This is a woman that's been pressed so hard that she became, in other words, I don't know, a tyrannical woman. Like, look at this woman here. Yeah, she became your average Karen. This woman's running for president, and she is just turned off by these super hard questions. But they're not hard questions. It's questions, and we'll go over those questions. It's questions that you have to expect to be asked if you're running for president. And especially when you're vice president of a horrible administration, you have to go on defense. And she couldn't do that. Instead, she had to blame Trump. Trump this, Trump that. American people don't want Trump. Trump this, blah, 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 blah. And it's just a train wreck, like Greg Foreman clearly stated here. Yes, as you should know, Brett Barr is clearly saying, hey, I'm being, of course, they're wrapping me up pretty hard here. And she's trying, and they want to end this interview, and she's trying to come up with a conclusion. And you'll see Kamala Harris is going to start talking over Brett Barr for actually when Brett Barr is actually going to say, thank you, Madam Vice President, she'll start talking and interrupting. This does clearly state how mad and angry she clearly is. So let's react here.
To say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump, there are a lot of things.
There's more to say. I have much more to say.
Look at the eye roll. Did you see the eye roll, guys? The eye roll. I mean, the eye roll should be enough to tell you, I don't even need the eye roll. Forget the eye roll. This woman is pissed. She is pissed off. And we'll go over why she's pissed off. But yes, she is not having it. And she's being more exaggerated. Oh yeah, I have so much to say. Of course, Madam Vice President, you're coming off as a snob now. Let's continue to react.
Things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why I invite
everyone to go to KamalaHarris.com.
You clearly stage you interrupting.
And you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small business.
She gets better here. That's because she's getting back to talking about her campaign and not asking hard questions.
Business is what I do.
And that's why we invited you here to see.
She nods her head like, yeah, Brett, this is the millionth time you interrupted me, but here's the thing. You got to expect this during interviews, especially from the opposing side. Kamala Harris obviously didn't come into this silly interview prepared.
Where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military.
There she goes. She continues to talk. And Brett Barr is saying, hey, this is why we had the interview. We wanted to ask these questions to kind of change, to understand why you changed your positions from 2019 and to today. And as you can clearly see now, Kamala Harris does not want to answer those questions. She kind of wants Americans to just trust. I'm sorry, Kamala. We can't just sit on our hands and trust you. That's not how it works. That's not how interviews work. Interviews is a chance for Americans to get to know you, and right now you're doing a horrible job expressing your person. Yeah, you're basically displaying you're a snobby, woke, tyrannical woman. And guess what? They're going to start believing Trump now. That, oh yeah, this woman's so far left that you support transgender surgeries for prisoners, for open border policies to let migrants in to get transgender surgeries, etc., abortions, medical treatments, and of course, employing and giving driver's license to illegal aliens. Everyone will start to believe you now. So thank you, Kamala. So easy.
And should we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world?
Madam Vice President,
and
they're giving me a hard rap here.
Of course, yes.
Thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dana, you've been on the other side. You've been on the rapper as a press secretary interviewing a president. And, I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands like, it's got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So, Martha, I had to dismount there at the end. There's so many things. And
and we're just going to jump because I don't want to get Greg Foreman in it due to copyright. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. Starting off with the first question.
Administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years.
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is
And I've said yesterday, no, you don't. Because she doesn't care. She just wants to answer the question to get a point.
It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
And notice, this is the question. Kamala Harris is going to try to avoid that question. And she's trying to aim at another question. Okay?
Brett, let's just get to the point.
See, she didn't want to answer the question. She didn't want to guess the numbers of how her administration, how many illegals her administration let into the country.
Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
You broke it. That's the thing.
Your Homeland Security Secretary.
You made it even worse.
Said that 85% of apprehension.
I'm not finished.
He's adding more context, like I said, adding more context to his question. Kamala Harris like, no, don't add more context. I want to answer the question that you asked that really isn't answer the question. The original question was, how many illegals did your administration let in? Kamala Harris didn't give an answer, and she just said, Brett, let's focus on the main issues. We have a broken immigration system. Yeah, she didn't want to. She blamed all the border crossings on the broken system. But really, how did it get this way? That's the question that you have to ask. How did it get this way? It just didn't break apart by itself, but you blame someone, and she'll blame Trump. I guarantee you, she will blame Trump. But anyway, Kamala Harris is going to go on a tangent rant. She's going to get really mad because Bear is going to be actually adding more context to this question to make it more difficult, and she's not going to like that.
We have
a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship.
Then she goes on. He's trying to add on. But Kamala Harris doesn't want to be corrected because she's too arrogant and stuck up to be corrected. So she has to be the strong woman and interject, may I please finish? May I please finish? I'm a strong woman. Like, seriously. Just listen to him. He's going to let you continue. Come on. This is liberal entitlement. I just had to add that in. Liberal entitlement. Okay, never mind.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish.
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they did.
Good point, Brett Barr. Good point.
Middle of responding to the point you're raising.
Okay. But he's trying to add more to the question, and here's the thing. The question's hard enough for her. She doesn't want it to get even harder. So she's just trying to answer the original question. So don't add more context to the question. This proves how incompetent this woman really is. She can't handle our questions.
I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so okay, sorry. That was all right. Let's continue on.
The American people want to have, and what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you.
But actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants
into
the country.
Voters. This is the Senate. This is the Democrats. Well, actually, it's really, you could count Sanders and Sinema. They're both independents, but they caucus with Democrats. These 6 woke Democrats voted against the bipartisan bill. You could go as far as saying Sinema is a centrist, which I think is hilarious because she really isn't. Maybe of the guns she is, but no, she kind of has to be pro-gun in Arizona. You have to in order to win. But yeah, this is the thing. They like to go and say Kamala Harris especially likes to gaslight and talk about how the Republicans voted against a border act of 2024. Overwhelming Republicans, but there's a reason. Because really, that stupid border act wouldn't have done anything. It would have re-secured the border with like around 800 border troops. That wouldn't do anything. Is that going to stop people, the migrants, from going through the little cracks over here? No. Really. There's miles of border wall. 800 soldiers aren't going to do anything. And out of everything, we're paying for this. 800 said soldiers or 800 personnel on this border, that's not even going to fix the problem. So no, really, Trump said, you know what, this is not going to work. This isn't conservative. This isn't even going to work. Paying too much expensive money for this. It's not going to work.
A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you know those families?
Look at, she doesn't even wait for the question to be over. She has to go, no, that's not true. Look at how obnoxious this woman is. This woman is obnoxious when it comes to debating the other side. But if it's networks that are friendly to her, with her, it's so easy. Like, remember that one ABC? They were flirting about, I think it was the ABC News interview. She was flirting with the moderator or the debate, the question giver about, hey, most important question. Did you work at McDonald's? And then they start talking about flipping patties and frying fries. And I'm like, what? You guys, come on. We don't care about McDonald's, okay? This is just, they're just pointing their fingers up Trump's nose, right? Because they're kind of heckling Trump, making Trump look like a fool about talking about McDonald's. Honestly, I don't care about the whole McDonald's thing. But yes, you could clearly see the clear difference between debate with Fox News and interview with Fox News and an interview with, of course, ABC. But continuing on.
It's really, I think,
an apology.
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases.
You don't care. You don't care. You had to go. You had an option. You were in D.C. during of course, you don't care about anyone. Because fallen 13 soldiers, there was a remembrance ceremony for them in Arlington. President Trump took his time off to remember these fallen 13. Kamala Harris said no. She wanted to keep campaigning. Okay, people seem to understand because she was in this race so late. But then, she decides to make it political. She goes and attacks Trump because Donald Trump got permission from the fallen parents and the families of the fallen 13 to take pictures. This is so disrespectful. You can't take pictures here. And then she makes a political statement accusing Trump of making a political statement out of the Fallen 13. Madam Vice President, stop pretending you care about the Fallen 13, even though you couldn't spend 1 hour in D.C. showing your grievances. They invited you. You turned them down. And not only did you turn them down, but you decided to mock them. Mock the Fallen 13 for their decision to let Trump take pictures at their event, which they gave permission to Trump and his team to take pictures. Stop. And out of everything, I think that's the most disrespectful. Not only did you blatantly refuse to show up, but you decided to turn and take advantage of a ceremony that is, all politics aside, you decide to attack this ceremony. Not only the ceremony itself, not only Trump, but the family and their decision to allow Trump to take pictures. This is just disgusting. Kamala Harris likes to sit down. We feel so bad for. No, she doesn't. Come on. No, this is a deep state Washington politician. Doesn't give a crud about anyone. Anyone. So let's continue.
There's no question about that.
There's no question about
There's
that.
no question about
No
that.
question about
I
it.
can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced.
And you made it worse. I'm just adding another thing because you just stabbed the hearts of the families of the Fallen 13. But not only showing up to pay your grievances and respects, but to make a political statement. Nah, I'm done with that. Let's move on.
For a loss that should not have occurred.
This is just gaslighting.
So that is true.
No,
it is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Okay, no, okay. I'm getting an ad. Okay. Yeah. Let's just let their ad go. I hate these. And then there's Rand Paul. Yeah. Yeah, this is the realistic deal. If we're doing interviews and reviewing interviews, we're gonna expect some ads. Okay? Alright.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
Watch this. This is Kamala Harris's chance. She could actually humble herself, come off her high horse, in this case, high donkey, because it's a Democrat party. Come off the high donkey and actually humble herself. But watch what she's going to do.
Tell you that I am so sorry for her loss.
She doesn't even say, I'm sorry for my mistake. She says, I'm sorry for your loss. And then let's see what else she has to say.
I'm so sorry for her loss.
No, you don't.
Sincerely.
You don't give it credit.
But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions.
Oh, my. Okay, then she goes and blames Trump. She goes back to Trump. Okay, sorry, Greg. I don't want to see your face again. I mean, I like Greg Foreman, but this is... I'm sure I'm not going to get this taken down because I showed a picture of Greg Foreman. Okay. No, I did not. That was not an invitation to come back. Okay. Take it back. All right. But yes, you just saw right there. She goes and references Trump. Someone who didn't want to participate in solutions. Then again, going back to that stupid border act that wouldn't have done anything. Madam Vice President, you were given an offer, an opportunity to apologize, but not only to that family, but to all the families that have their relatives, their friends, and anyone that has been victims of tyrannical migrants and their crimes. And you said, I'm sorry for your loss, but it's all Trump's fault because Trump did this and this and this. Come on. So obviously, Kamala Harris didn't get off her high donkey.
Country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and
Well,
I'm
that's
very
5
clear
years
that
ago. Move on. Well, let's continue.
the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
Better question would be, why did you choose the guy who recently did all this stuff? So Kamala Harris says, oh, immigrants and driver's license, we'll follow the law. Well, why did you choose Tim Walz, who clearly countered your statement just a few years ago? Not a few years, like a year ago, who signed into law. Illegal immigrants in Minnesota, by law, can retain and obtain driver's license. Just stupid.
We are...
And then she's trying... She's like a loading computer screen. She's like, oh, dang it. This is why everyone is banging, going off on, like, why did you choose Tampon Tim? You could have chose Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania or Mark Kelly of Arizona, but you had to choose Tampon. Like, seriously, come on. She actually likes the Tampon Man. You really do. You like the Tampon Man because he flirts with your left-wing ideology. That's why. And she just couldn't resist it. She could have proved her moderate centrism by choosing moderate. You could go as far as saying maybe Roy Cooper of North Carolina. An important swing state, by the way. She couldn't do that. She had to choose the second most far-left governor in the United States. Tim Walz. Tampon Tim. It's just ridiculous. And then she's realizing right now the consequences. Hang on. Now, I've claimed this stance on centrism, and Tim Walz, he's kind of ruining that for me.
Very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
Well, let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports tax.
She's like, okay, let's go and see this. Like, she did you see that? She's like, okay, let's watch. She's like, she is not enjoying this.
Funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender.
And we got records of this. We got records of Kamala Harris saying stupid far-left tangents like this. And then we're supposed to believe, oh, I'm a changed person. Like, really? You're a changed person?
Inmate in the prison system would have access.
Uh-oh.
What do you feel in your body?
Okay. Am I a racist? Oh, of course. Of course. Woke commercials. Yeah, this is the last thing we need. on an interview with Kamala Harris, if Kamala Harris is enough.
The system would have access.
So, are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law.
And she continues to say the same thing.
You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration...
And then she goes after Donald Trump again. Like, this is interviews about you, Madam Vice President, not about Trump.
Surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender
Fact
transition.
Well, you know what? You got to take
during
responsible for what
his
happened
presidency.
in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in his
Like,
presidency.
It's in
So
black and white.
would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment
I will
surgery?
follow the law.
And she says the same thing over and over.
You
I
have a
think
say
Donald
in
Trump would
this.
say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think it's real. He spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voter.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Finishing up great form and sentence. I keep trying to get him not in the video, but yeah, I haven't watched this video of his enough to predict when he's going to appear on the screen. But anyway, point is, I'm going to interject. No, Kamala. Donald Trump had no control over the woke revolutionaries that were in the country at the time. Not to mention the woke revolutionaries hate him so much that they would rather shoot him. They would rather see him dead. So, of course, we know Donald Trump doesn't support him, but you can't blame Trump on this. While Trump has clearly stated that, oh yeah, we're going to put an end to, of course, these policies where inmates can get the transition and to, of course, transition and become the opposite gender. You can't blame Trump on that. In fact, I think we should go after you because you clearly said that. We got footage of you. You see, this woman's horrible at her job. Like, seriously, you go and blame Trump. That's all you gotta do. Donald Trump happened his administration. Like, what's a good example? January 6th happened during Joe Biden's transition period. Why does that matter? Right? Why does that matter? It's just you're interlopping two events. Like, seriously. But yes, you get what I'm saying. And continuing on.
What, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden? Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Not a smart thing to say, by the way, if you want to get more pro-Palestine votes. I mean, you're basically saying that you've been a part of the decisions that have been made, like giving weapons and aid to Israel to conduct in what the pro-Palestinians like to call quote-unquote genocide. Yeah, connect the dots. People aren't that dumb. And you'll see, here's another interview with Stephen Colbert. You'll see the complete difference between Brett Bauer and Stephen Colbert and how Kamala Harris favors each person. So,
a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously.
She goes, sure. She's so open to ask the question.
And so that would be one change in terms of. But also, I think it's important to say, with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
I'm not Donald Trump. Why do we keep getting these ads? I like Stephen Miller, but you are in the way. Come on. Yeah. I knew this was going to happen.
Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. my presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency.
You just said it like there's not really a thing that comes to mind. And you basically said that you had a major, your decisions are of this presidency right now of Joe Biden. A lot of them were your decisions. So therefore, it's not going to be much different with your administration. The American voters are already associating your decisions with parties. That's why a lot of them say, hey, look, Democratic Party's not doing so well. Let's vote Republican. Okay? This is Democrats. They don't look at one type of person. Biden, or just Biden administration. They say Democrats. They're so general, black and white. That's why Republicans possibly could win.
And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. That is about turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than 70% of people tell...
People are tired of you, Kamala. We're exhausted with you.
Country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong
79%.
track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person...
She goes to Donald Trump again. Yeah, Donald Trump's running for... Look at this smoochy face she's making anyway. But yeah, I'm getting distracted. Donald Trump running for president does not... like, he's not in office. He's not in charge of the decisions you guys are making. We decided to give weapons to Israel. Don't blame us. Blame Trump. Like, seriously.
Come on. You and I both know what I'm talking about. You and I
No, we don't, Kamala.
both know what I'm talking
I actually
about.
don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But you're
people
the
have
lever of
become,
power.
but listen, an enemy within me, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
When did he say that? And then, of course, here's the fact check clip.
About that, they were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett,
And then she gets so mad for showing him the clip. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Brett Barr came prepared. He is a I wouldn't say warmonger to be a negative thing, but he is you get what the context I'm saying. He's a machine to go against the Democrat Party and the Democrat propaganda. He is a tactic tool. And him equipping that footage, genius. And then, of course, she gets so mad. And when you know she's mad, you know it's working. Because if it didn't work, you would see a totally different Kamala Harris. You would see Kamala Harris be more calm and perhaps more professional. Like, she failed to do this through this whole entire debate. But yeah, she does the exact opposite. She gets mad at Brett Barr for showing him the footage. Oh, it hurt her feelings.
I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within.
Okay, where's your footage, Kamala? I mean, we provided the footage to you. I mean, I don't expect you to pull out a giant TV set from your bag, which is probably behind your chair or something, and show us. Maybe you could post it to your website of Donald Trump actually, in full context, planning to turn the military on the American people. I'm being serious. Post it. Go to Harris Walls, post a video. Maybe it'll help your numbers. It definitely would. But she can't. Because there is no footage of that. What there is, though, is footage that sounds like Donald Trump saying he's going to turn the military against the people. But it's purposely edited and misused out of context to make it look like what the Democrats want Trump to say. Just putting it in there.
He has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
He was asked
No,
about that
no,
specific...
that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect,
She
to
gets
you,
mad.
That we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both
We're going to stop at 16:02.
know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people.
You gotta laugh at this, guys. You cannot get angry. You cannot get, like, fume. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. I mean, I did, like, 30 minutes ago, I did say that I can't laugh because Kamala Harris is, of course, louder than a cat scratching his cardboard or chalkboard. But you get what I'm saying. She's just a clown. Stand-up comedy, and I mean, make some light of it. Stand up. You gotta watch this interview, get through the misery and the suffering, but, I mean, get through it. Pull through it together.
He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protests.
You gotta laugh.
He talked about locking people up because they disagree with you.
Oh, like the Democrats haven't done that. Like, oh, look at poor Donald Trump. He's gotten indicted, charged, and now convicted because he ran for president and he was a threat to democracy. But actually, he's a threat to the Democrat Party. And that's what he is. He's a threat to the Democrat Party. We can agree. Donald Trump's a threat. But what he's a threat to, that's where we have a different that's when a conflict we disagree with. Democrats think he's a threat to democracy. Actually, they do think he's a threat to the Democrat Party, but they're never going to say that. They're never going to say that. Because that exposes the left-wing phony lie, right? The anti-Trump lie. So they're just going to say he's against democracy, and they fail to provide us any proof. But then convict him. Look, he's convicted. Therefore, he's a threat to democracy. Like, how could he pull through the conviction wasn't even perfect. It wasn't even well planned. Donald Trump is still high in the polls like never before. The conviction didn't work. Yeah, he's convicted. He can't vote. He can't own a gun. Well, he has over 70 million Americans voting for him. So Donald Trump's basically voting 70 million times. So what? Donald Trump can't vote. One vote? That's the thing, guys. Go out, if all of us go out tomorrow, or just right now, depending on when you're watching this video, turn off this video and actually go ask someone you don't know, or just don't know their politics on. Get them to vote for Donald Trump. You're going to make up Donald Trump's vote. Get someone that originally voted for Biden or didn't vote in 2020. Get them to vote. You're going to fill in Donald Trump's vote. And that's what I'm thinking. So continue on.
This is a democracy.
Yeah, so yeah. Greg. I know, we talked a lot about you today, but this is the last segment. Okay.
He is unstable, Greg.
And this is one of the funny parts, because Kamala Harris has been acting insane. Like, she is probably going through a withdrawal on her drugs or something. She is on edge, and she's talking about Trump being unstable. Lady, you're sitting, twitching, and yelling at poor Brett Bauer for asking questions he's actually being told to ask. They're normal questions, by the way. You're the one who's unstable. And Brett Bauer's going to ask the most perfect, genius move. And she gets so angry. She loses it. Okay, Greg. All right.
He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable?
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on
This is the genius question.
Staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Loading computer screen. You can edit this video. Take this and put a computer screen right. She's literally trying to.
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people. Joe Biden,
concerns,
So, really, it's Donald Trump is mentally unstable because he disagrees with you. Therefore, at least over 40% of the country is mentally unstable, according to Kamala Harris, someone who's actually claiming to fight for the people. I want you guys to think about it. Kamala Harris claims she's going to fight for everyone. And she has no proof and evidence of Donald Trump being mentally unstable. You could say it's his age. That's a fair argument. But then, Brett Barr says, hey, look, take someone who's actually deteriorating right now. Actually dying. Joe Biden. He's being president of the United States. And what does Kamala Harris say? Joe Biden, strong man, great job. Yeah, it's because he agrees with you. He's a part of the Democrat Party. But Donald Trump, Republican Party. Oh no, my opponent. Mentally unstable. Everyone that votes for him, mentally unstable. I'm sure the trolls of this channel would definitely agree with that. But that's not rhetoric that moderate Americans that, of course, that are pivotal of winning this election want to hear. I mean, if you go there and say 40% of Americans are horrible, well, that's not unifying. You need a leader that unites the country. Mentally unstable because he believes this, and this. And it's not just Donald Trump, but his supporters. I believe in the values of Donald Trump. So I'm mentally unstable for believing that there should be, of course, law and order in this country, and that illegal immigrants should be deported, or, of course, sent back. And, of course, stopping foreign intervention and aid in conflicts. I'm mentally unstable. This is how far we have become.
Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And then she goes, Joe Biden's not on the ballot. Yeah, I mean, he's the president, though, Madam Vice President. He's actually running the country. I mean, you're here. And we saw Joe Biden 6 months ago, I want to believe. 4 months, 5 months. Yeah, it looked so good. You really think Joe Biden is lifting up his pen and sending executive orders? Who's running the country? We assumed it was you, Kamala. Who's driving the bus? No one? That's not a good answer. So good pushback from Brett Barr.
Donald Trump
Well, you
is.
talked about it.
And
Donald Trump is.
He said
And
within a
if
few
you
minutes of
watch
talking to President
Donald
Biden at a
Trump-
fundraiser that he thought this was not the same
Brett.
Joe Biden that we saw on the
Donald
debate stage.
Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him.
Donald Trump's on the ballot. I'm glad she's not saying Donald Trump is. Yeah, it's basically she's dissing Joe Biden. She's like, forget about Joe Biden, Donald Trump.
Once a week.
But you're running for president too, Kamala, so we should ask about you. But you don't want us to know about you. You really don't.
3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
Look at that body language. She, switched her legs. Look at that. You can tell. It's starting to look like the beginning of the video, or the end of the interview, where Kamala Harris is rolling her eyes. Yeah.
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump.
No, they don't! The only people that have a concern about Donald Trump is people at TDS. Okay? TDS. And I have a concern for them, by the way. They should be in a mental institution. That's not normal. They're not normal people. Normal people don't wake up every day and binge watch MSNBC and try to get ramped up about Trump. That's not normal. Your life doesn't evolve around one man. One man. And treating this one man like the Antichrist. That's not normal. That's a mental illness. And I'm serious. Congress, why aren't we figuring out how we're going to treat these people? They're running around trying to kill the president of the United States, who's running in an election. You got these TDS people in Congress also. It's a rapid spreading disease. This is a contagious disease. I'm against vaccines. All vaccines except for a TDS vaccine. And it's not a literal vaccine, but it's going to be the vaccine of common sense. The vaccine and the antidote. In the first off, how many of us may have a different interpretation of what this vaccine would entail. But this vaccine, we need to come up with it fast, will stop the TDS pandemic that, of course, Kamala Harris is trying to spread to the whole American people.
Which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out, even people who worked for him in the Oval Office.
Yeah, but they're ideologically different from Trump. Do you think John Bolton, who worked for Trump, do you think he's MAGA? Not at all. John Bolton's a neocon. John Bolton was mad at Trump because he didn't go to war with North Korea. John Bolton was mad at Trump because he was actually talking to Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. The stuff that the left demonizes so much. Diplomacy, very normal. Barack Obama did it too. He met with Putin, but they'll never show footage of that, remember? It's horrible when Donald Trump does it. Yeah. And these Republicans, quote unquote, Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, I mean, if they ever run for president, I will vote Democrat. I am serious. These people are not Republicans. I will vote. Like, if John Edwards or whatever, Joe Lieberman would be better. I would definitely, without any hesitation, vote for Joe Lieberman against Dick Cheney. Absolutely. Does that make you feel good? For those of you who are hammering me of being too far right, I'm voting for, like, John Edwards. I mean, he's a convicted felon. Doesn't really make a difference. But anyway, just the point is, call me a hardliner, hard GOP hardliner. No, a hard GOP hardliner votes Republican no matter what. Even Dick Cheney, who honestly is tyrannical, wants to blow up the whole entire world. So these Republicans that Kamala Harris is mentioning, they're not Republicans, they're rhinos. Rhinos. Donald Trump, why did he choose them? Because Donald Trump wanted a diverse administration. Now, I'm not talking about racial diversity. I'm talking about difference of opinions. So Donald Trump added different factions of the GOP. The neocon faction, the rhino faction, liberal Republican faction, the moderate faction, conservatives, staunch conservatives, different types of opinions. They're advisors. So Donald Trump was influenced by both sides. But Donald Trump's views aren't going to change because he added a neocon like John Bolton into his administration. By the end of Trump's term and realizing how, of course, unpopular he became after he left office, people like John Bolton, Chris Christie, Mike Pence even, jumped ship. They said, we're not supporting this man, Liz Cheney. Oh, we're going to endorse Kamala Harris. Trump, threat to democracy. We worked for this guy. And really, they're in it for themselves. They really are. They really are. And because you take a look at, if they were bad, right? If these were really good people, Liz Cheney, for example, worked with Trump. She was in the House of Representatives, wasn't in the Trump administration, but she was in the same room as Trump. Don't tell me she didn't have some part to play. She was Trump all the way until he left office. Because Liz knew that, you know what? Wasn't really worth it. These Republicans that are hippie ha-ha for Kamala Harris, these are the Republicans that started the Iraq War. These are the Republicans that started the Afghanistan War. These are Republicans that want to continue the war in Ukraine. And they're afraid because Donald Trump wants to stop the war in Ukraine. So, these neocons, as we call them, they're going to someone like Kamala Harris, who is all the way going to stand with Ukraine, so we believe, till they win. And that's not realistic because Ukraine's not winning the war. Russia's not going to win the war. No one's been winning the war. It's going on for 10 years. We need to end the war. And it's going to involve compromise. But neocons don't want compromise. They just want to win. Win the war. It's not about winning. It's actually keeping the war ongoing so they get their money. Okay? Money. And Liz Cheney admitted she wants the party of her father back. The party of Dick Cheney. The party of George W. Bush. But that's the GOP the Democrats keep fear-mongering about. That's the GOP where Americans, where that doesn't care about Americans. And we know that for sure because that GOP got America involved in a war, a bloody war, costing thousands of soldiers, thousands of lives over something, a rumor, weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. Yeah, that was the bad GOP. This GOP wants to stop wars, and we have all these 200 Republicans going out for Kamala Harris in opposition to that. These are Bush neocon Republicans. And if they ever leave the Republican Party, so be it. Because I don't care if they leave. When they join the Democrat Party, they can do whatever they want. I want them out. I want them out of this party. They are hideous and insane. Anyone that supports war so they can get benefits, they shouldn't be in government. They should be far away. They are dangerous people. Dangerous elitists. And Cheney, Dick, and Liz, they are elitists. So continuing on, we got to address Kamala's proud about Republicans.
With him in the Situation Room and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again.
They said that after Trump left office. If they really meant it, and if it was really true, they would have said it in the middle, right? But what if it was true? Well, that doesn't change the fact that these Republicans didn't actually wait until Trump was out to spread the news. Because what's in common? These Republicans love money. And these are the Republicans that you don't want in office.
Including his former vice president, which
Mike
is why
Pence,
the job is
I know.
open for him to choose another running mate.
I keep interrupting. I know this is going to be a longer video, but you realize, you can see. Let's see a better example. List of vice. I'm all in it today. List of vice presidents of the United States, because this is actually insane. What Kamala Harris is saying is stupid, because this is normal. Because looking at vice presidents, let's see. Running mates. Okay. I want to look at Grover Cleveland. All right. Grover Cleveland. He had a lot of vice presidents, okay? One died, but looking at 1984, he chose Thomas A. Hendricks to be his running mate. He won that election. Okay? What ended up happening? I think did Hendricks die? I think he died. Yeah, he died right when he got into office. So that resulted to the office was then vacant. So in 1988, Cleveland chooses Ellen G. Thurman to be his running mate. Okay? He loses. 1892, Kamala Harris is saying, oh, Grover should choose Thurman again. But Grover Cleveland didn't want to choose Thurman. That's because, it's not because of course, you were a bad president. No, it's Trump's decision. If he wanted to go and put Pence back on the ticket again, it's his decision. But ultimately, I think Republicans knew it in general. Pence and Trump are just too different. Pence is this establishment Republican, and we know it. Pence is also a pushover. So, and I mean, we got the same thing. Nixon had Henry Lodge, I want to believe. Henry Lodge, 1960. Henry Cabot Lodge, okay? He lost, of course. But guess what he does? 1968, he runs again. Did he choose Henry Cabot Lodge? No. And it's not because Richard Nixon didn't like Lodge. I think he loves Lodge. They're both Rockefeller Republicans. They have the same views. Work very well together. No, well, it's about strategy. Specifically, Richard Nixon had to win Maryland, well, which he didn't win Maryland, and the strategy was he wants to win this northeast area. Even Virginia was up to grabs, and he wanted to choose someone from that area, so he chose Spiro Agnew, the governor of Maryland. Okay? Much compatible area. Now, it didn't make sense to go and choose Henry Cabot Lodge from Massachusetts because Massachusetts was solid and for Democrats. Didn't seem to win that area, right? The state that Richard Nixon couldn't carry. Didn't really make sense for Richard Nixon to choose someone from a state that he can't necessarily win. So it's about strategy, Mrs. Vice President. It's not about relationships and if you got along or not. The reason why Trump chose Pence in the first place was Pence came from Indiana. The state bordered with Michigan. A state needed to win, right? Wisconsin. It's not bordered, but it's across the sea. It's from the Midwest. But then again, although Pence is notable from that region, Pence of course, it's quite obvious, Pence has been antagonized. The MAGA base has antagonized him so much, even if maybe Trump forgave Pence and said, you know what, Pence, you get another chance. That doesn't necessarily mean the MAGA base would, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean, oh, Trump forgave Pence, we'll forgive Pence. No. Maybe some would, but that would turn off a lot of voters. Right after you were playing the narrative that, of course, the election was, of course, rigged, and that going into this and criticizing Pence for certifying the election results, and then out of the blue, you choose him to be your running mate. It doesn't make sense. The context. It was the context. Pence destroyed his own career and jumped ship and doing interviews against Trump. And okay, it's quite obvious. Just because Pence is critical of Trump, that doesn't mean Trump didn't choose. It's just out of context. This is just Kamala Harris word salad.
So that is a fact. That is a fact.
And we're just going to stop here. All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Greg, I appreciate you I didn't use your video. I mean, I did use your video, but I wasn't stealing your reaction to it, which I would consider as wrong, and that's copyright, but this is the interview. But yeah, we basically covered the major points of the interview. So yeah, very big, long video today. Should be up tomorrow. I'm recording this pretty late, but yes, you get what I'm saying. Very bad interview. And I mean, sometimes you could see it was hard to see. Sometimes this is, I mean, Kamala Harris altogether is just bad. And you just can't tell the difference of what she's saying and what's actually really, really bad and what's just bad. So I think it was important to go over that interview, talk about it, point out the flaws, and talk about the reactions. A lot of Americans have said, you know what, you look angry. And I agree. Kamala Harris was angry. Because, and we know this is not what Kamala Harris usually is. And this does show that this is how Kamala Harris acts like with her opponents. She likes to talk about the Republicans and that endorsed her, snuggling with Liz Cheney. Yeah, because Liz Cheney is in the bag for Democrats. Just because she has an R by her name doesn't mean she's a Republican. Who says that's a rule? Because she's not. But it's Republicans that are against this woke policy of transgenderism, abortion, and illegal just open border policy, along with just foreign intervention. That's the Republicans she cannot stand. Fox News has a lot of them. And here's giving them some credit. Fox News is not really a network that Trump really likes. Oh, what a ridiculous statement. It's true. Trump openly said, hey, there's some people I like in Fox, and there's some people I can't stand on Fox. Most people he likes on Fox. But I've seen times where Trump got into a conflict with Fox. And yeah, Fox News definitely had some ridiculous moments of wokeism here and there. Liberals will be laughing. But I'm not going to do a separate video on that. Because, you know what, we're focusing on the things that matter, things that are most important. So let's end this very long video, an hour, 10, 15 minutes of talking and react. What are your reactions to the Kamala Harris word salad of an interview? Let me know down below. As always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.